good gamers? Welcome to Fizzy MTG, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at my most powerful deck that I've ever made, at least so far. And this is pre it being a commander deck, because right now it is not a commander deck. It is in fact actually just a 60 card deck, but I do have to find it as I have two decks in this box. Alright, we're going to go through one of them. This is my most powerful deck. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort it for you guys. I know I should have done this beforehand probably. But you guys can kind of maybe see some of the stuff as we go through, and you can sort of make determinations based on what you see. And you can let me know any thoughts you may or may not have as we go. But this deck is, I mean, at least it performs well with my group. It's a super fun deck to play. This is the most curated deck that I have ever made, meaning like I have gone through and upgraded and upgraded and upgraded this deck, and to the point to getting it to this level. We'll put this here. There's a lot of craziness in this deck, which you guys will get to see very soon. Yeah, let's just, yeah. But anyway, we'll get into all that. Let's see, I just gotta, first I would like to sort it so that I can, you know, more easily sort of explain what I've got going on here. And we can get into all of that jazz. Oh, what am I doing? That's this. Perfect. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, it's a little bit of a mess. Don't worry. We're going to get it. We'll get it situated here. And we will go through it here in just a moment. Alright, we're going to zoom in, and we're going to go through these one at a time here. Starting off with our lovely little forest. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 basic forests. And then we have, for our 12th land, the World Tree, which enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for a green mana. As long as you control 6 or more lands you control have tap, add any mana, or sorry, add 1 mana of any color. And you can pay double Wooburg, tap, sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of God cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So, there's a combo for this later. We'll lay that aside for now. Next, we have a Rogue's Passage, which is a land with tap, add a colorless. Or we can pay 4 tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn, which is very, very useful. We'll lay that to the side as well for now, just in case. And then we have Boseiju, Who Endures, which is a legendary land with tap, add a green mana, or channel. You can pay 1 and a green, discard Boseiju, Who Endures, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control, which is very nice. So, you know, potentially very useful. Then we have a Feral Hydra, which is pay X and then a green. Feral Hydra enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. And you can pay 3 to put a 1/1 counter on Feral Hydra. Any player may activate this ability. So, you know, just interesting little card there. Alright, I just want to mention real quick, in case I haven't already, the name of this deck, which you will probably see in the title, is I usually refer to as Big Boys. Also, sometimes Junk in the Trunks. It's a, you'll understand why if you can't already. This is a X green plant Hydra. When you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card from among them. a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Genesis Hydra enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. So, this is a really useful little thing. Alright, I just want to point out, just in case it wasn't clear, 11 basic forests over here, and then World Tree, Boseiju, Rogue's Passage. Total of 15 lands in this deck. This is one of the reasons why this deck only has 15 lands. We've got a Fyndhorn Elves. We've got a second Fyndhorn Elves. We have an Elvish Mystic. So that's 3 so far ramp cards that are 1-drops that will get us an extra mana. Next we have a Swarm Shambler. Here, I'm going to lay the ramp to the side over here. There we go. Next we have a Swarm Shambler, which is a 1-drop. It enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. And I can pay 1 and tap to put a 1/1 counter on Swarm Shambler. So, really useful. Here's another Elvish Mystic and another Fyndhorn Elves. Next, we have, which by the way, all of those tap for 1. We also have Whisper of the Wild, one of my absolute favorite ramp cards because it costs 2 mana and you can tap for 1 and it has Ferocious, which means you can tap, add 2 mana, green mana to your mana pool. Activate this only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So, very, very useful. And then we've got 3 visits, which is search your library for a forest, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Untapped, I believe, as well. So useful. And then we have another Whisper of the Wild, and another one. And then one of my all-time favorite cards, In Search of Greatness. This is a 2-drop enchantment. With, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So either way, this is letting you scry, which is really useful, but say you've got a 3-drop on the field and this boy out, you can then cast a 4-drop on your next turn for free, and then a 5-drop, and then a 6-drop. It is just insanely useful. Next we have a Leafkin Druid, which is just a 2-drop mana dork as well, that if you control 4 more creatures, it then taps for 2 mana. So very useful. And another Whisper of the Wild. Then we have an Arachnoform, which is a 2-drop enchantment. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has reach, and is every creature type, which is very, very useful. Scale the Heights, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Oh wait, on up to 1 target creature, never mind. You gain 2 life this turn and may play an additional land this turn. And you get to draw a card. So, Scale the Heights is just kind of broken to me. I mean, it's a really sick card. Draw a card, play an additional land, get a 1/1 counter, gain 2 life. What doesn't it do? Next we have Cultivate, 3-drop sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal those cards, put 1 onto the battlefield, tap the other into your hand, and shuffle your library. Very useful. We got a Root Weaver Druid, which is a 3-drop elf druid with 1 Root Weaver Druid enters the battlefield. Each opponent may search their library for up to 3 basic land cards. They each put 1 of those onto the battlefield tapped under your control, the rest onto the battlefield tapped under their control. Then each player who searches the library this way shuffles it. So, very useful. Say your opponents all search for 3 lands each. They get 2 on the battlefield, but they each give you 1. You gain 3, and they gain 2. But it benefits them to give you 1, because otherwise, you know, they have to give you 1 anyway if they're going to search. So they either give you nothing, or they get 2 for themselves. It's just so good. At least to me. Another Scale the Heights, which again, when I make this a commander deck, I know I won't be able to have 2 ofs, but we've got Kodama of the West Tree. It's a 3-drop legendary spirit with reach, and modified creatures you control have trample. Oh god, so useful in this deck. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Very, very useful. We're going to put him into the ramp category. Mighty Emergence is an enchantment that costs 3 mana that says whenever a creature with power 5 or greater comes into play under your control, you may put 2 1/1 counters on it, so it becomes a 7 whatever. Insanely good. Garrick's Uprising, whenever it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card, and creatures you control have trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So, Very useful. And then we've got Gem Razor. Oh, shoot. I just realized I'm like at the top of the thing. There we go. It's a 4-drop beast with Mutate, which is 1 a green and a green. And it's got Reach, Trample. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment and an opponent controls. Very cool little card. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. It's a 4-drop. This spell can't be countered. It's a legendary creature squirrel. Indestructible. Toski, Bearer of Secret, attacks each combat if able. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So useful to have that ability. Card draw is very good. Here we go. Here's one of our combo pieces. Maskwood Nexus. It's a 4-drop that says that says creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Then you can also pay 3 and tap it to create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So essentially, if you have this Maskwood Nexus and the World Tree together, then all of your creatures are every creature type. So if you've got 10 mana that taps for any color, pay the double Wooburg, and then just play your entire deck because every card in your deck is a god. It's a really good combo. Shout out to Commander's Quarters. Trying to remember the name, sorry. Because that's how I learned. That's how I learned about that combo, and I was like, that is insane. And I had those cards, so I was like, yeah, that's going in this deck. Iridescent Hornbeetle is a 5-drop insect creature. With at the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each 1/1 counter you've put on creatures under your control this turn. It's just a 3/4. It's not too bad. It does some interesting little things. And then we've got Kura, the Boundless Sky. Flying, Death Touch. When Kura, the Boundless Sky dies, choose one. Search the library for the 3 land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle. Create an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. So, you know, pretty cool. Pretty cool little, I guess I'll put this kind of in the ramp category. And then we've got World Slayer, because everyone knows there's a fun little combo with the World Slayer and Toski where when equipped creature, sorry, by the way, it's a 5-drop and equips for 5. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So, essentially put this on Toski and it will destroy everything except for this and Toski. So, yeah, it's literally a sword that kills everything. It's called the World Slayer for a reason. And then we've got this, which is one of my favorite weird ramp cards. It is a 6-drop Elf Mutant with add 3 mana. You tap it for 3 mana and it's just a 4/5. And it's got 4 cycling, so you know you can pay 2, discard this card, search the library for force, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. So, very useful. Feasting Troll King, which is a 6-drop Troll Noble with Vigilance, Trample. When Feasting Troll King enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens. Sacrifice 3 foods, return Feasting Troll King from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only during your turn. So, you know, it's a little like recursive giant that has Vigilance and Trample. And it can gain you some life. It's just a good card. We've got Herd Chaser Dragon, because everyone told me green didn't have flying, and I said nope. I mean, of course it does, obviously. Flying, Trample, Megamorph. Pay 5, a green and a green. You may cast this face down as a 2/2 creature for 3. Turn it face up for its Metamorph cost and put a 1/1 counter on it. When a Herd Chaser Dragon is turned face up, put a 1/1 counter on each other dragon creature you control. So, not bad. We've got Slurk, all ingesting. Oh, by the way, if you do this combo and you've got World Tree, every creature's everything, so they're all dragons. So that's why that can be very useful. Slurk, all ingesting. It's a 6-drop legendary creature ooze. It enters the battlefield with 5 1/1 counters on it. Whenever Slurk or another creature under your control, you control dies, if it had a 1/1 counter on it, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that has a 1/1 counter on it. This card also has Partner, if you needed a partner commander. Pretty cool. Soul of Zendikar. It is a 6-drop avatar with Reach, and you can pay 3, a green and a green, put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield, or you can pay 3 green green, exile Soul of Zendikar from your graveyard, put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. It's also just a 6/6 by itself. We've got Colossification, because it wouldn't be big boys without something to make my creatures insanely big for no reason. So, of course, we've got Colossification. Enchant creature. When Colossification enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets plus 20, plus 20. So, yeah, that's insane. It's very, very powerful. This is one of my favorite cards as well. Dawnglade Regent. It is an elk creature with, when it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. As long as you're the monarch, permanents you control have hexproof. And, you know, it's just an 8/8 for 7, too, so. And then we have, quite possibly, one of the most insane cards in the deck as well. This is also the, like, second pack I ever opened. This was the Mythic in it, and I was, like, insanely excited about that. It's a 7-drop enchantment creature elemental called Nyxbloom Ancient with Trample. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. So now, something that taps for 3 mana, such as this boy, now taps for 9. Just in case you didn't know. Insane. Insane. And then we've got a Destructor Dragon. When Destructor Dragon dies, target non-creature, destroy target non-creature permanent. It's a 4/4 dragon. You know, just good to have a couple. We've also got Foe Razor Regent, which is another dragon. It's a 4/5 with flying. Foe Razor Regent enters the battlefield. You may have it fight, or when it enters, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. Whenever a creature you control fights, put 2 1/1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So, you know, just pump up your creatures, why not? That sounds lovely. We always like to do that. And why not something that makes our little bitty tokens massive? So this is an 8-drop human shaman called Gigantomancer. You can pay 1, target creature you control becomes 7/7 until the end of turn. So, yeah, you just turn your 1/1s into 7/7s if you can, and that's pretty freaking insane. And then we've got End Raise Forerunners. You guys probably recognize this card as it's my end screen. I have used this card for my end screen for a while, and probably will do so in the foreseeable future. Yeah, hold on. Let's get a little closer here where you can see it nice and well. Interesting little card. Vigilance, Trample, Haste. Whenever End Raise Forerunners enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Trample to the end of turn. Not bad. It's also just a 7/7, so, you know, take that, I guess. Myojin of Towering Might is an 8-drop legendary spirit with, when it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Remove an indestructible counter from Myojin of Towering Might. Distribute 8 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. They gain Trample until the end of turn, so take that, I guess. We've got a good old Titanoth Rex. It's a 9-drop dinosaur beast with Trample and Cycling. Whenever you cycle Titanoth Rex, put a Trample counter on target creature you control. It's just an 11/11 dinosaur beast because it's big boys. Apex Devastator, one of my all-time favorite cards and one of the reasons I built this deck to start out with. It's a 10-drop Chimera Hydra with Cascade, 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 Cascade. It's also a 10-drop. What that means is, when you cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less than this, which is 10 mana, by the way. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled card on the bottom of your library in a random order. Multiple instances of Cascade trigger separately. So we then get to cast 3 permanents for free. Doesn't matter what they are. I believe. Let's see. Spells. Yeah, cast spells. Yes. Hold on, wait. Is it even permanent? When you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs... Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Sorcery, enchantment, anything. From what I can see here. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But yeah, and it's just a 10/10 that gets us free stuff. And then we've got the only cards in this deck that have more mana than it are my Primeval Protector, which is an 11-drop that costs 1 less to cast for each creature your opponent controls. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. It's also a 10/10. And Galta Primal Hunger, which is a 12-drop, 12/12. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and it has Trample. So I have cast this for 2 mana before. So let me just show you guys real quick. For reference, any card in this deck other than the 2 I just showed you, any card in this deck, at worst case scenario, I'm going to be getting like 4 ramp spells, right? that is like the worst that this thing can do for me, and that's not bad whenever all of my mana has some kind of use in this deck. So that's why this deck is insane. Now, I'm going to attempt here. I'm going to grab all the cards. We're going to zoom back out one moment here. Let me just kind of zoom out a bit. And I'm going to grab all of these. We're going to do a quick shuffle. And we're just going to get a sample hand and see kind of what we're looking at in a normal hand. And you guys tell me if you think it would be playable or not. I will say, I have had, in the entire time of playing this deck, maybe 3 hands that were not really playable. And my play group, we tend to do what we call a free mulligan, which means we don't really care. We would let each other mulligan indefinitely, but typically we don't do that. Typically if we don't like our first hand, we have 1 mulligan where we can redraw 7 cards, and it's like no harm, no foul. Just get into the game. And usually, it doesn't matter what that hand is, we usually keep it better or worse than the last one. But most of the time, our hands are usually pretty decent. But every once in a while, we get a weird hand. So we're going to do some shuffling. We're going to do a good little bit here because I want to make sure that we get a decent mix-up, because I did have all of these cards together. So we're going to mix big groups, small groups, half the deck, less than half the deck, you know. Get a solid shuffle. I'm going to do this method. You guys can let me know in the comments below what your shuffling methods are. I have literally gone through my deck and put a land every other creature before, just to kind of help before I started shuffling it, to try to make sure that I'm going to have a mixture. But we're not going to do that here. We're just going to do a regular old, shuffle here. We're going to take smaller stacks, bigger stacks, mix them around, and we're going to get a sample hand, and you guys tell me whether or not in the comments below if you would play this hand or if you would mulligan. And maybe we'll do a mulligan to see kind of what we normally get. Alright, last one. Here we go. And then we're going to see what we've got. Alright, so we're going to say we are playing first so we don't get to draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is this hand playable? Alright, creature. 3 visits. Iridescent Hornbeetle. Swarm Shambler. In Search of Greatness. Forest. World Tree. Would you play this hand? Let me know in the comments. What would your turn 1 play be? What would you do? If it's me, it's turn 1. I have the World Tree. I'm not on the draw. I don't know what my opponent's doing. I'm playing Forest on turn 1, tapping it, probably. And I will play Swarm Shambler. On my next turn, let's see what the draw would be. Draw is a Forest. Perfect. We'll play a Forest. We'll tap 2. We would go with In Search of Greatness. And then my next turn, let's see what the draw would be. It's Maskwood Nexus. Alright, nice. I'm going to untap. I'll play the World Tree. Tap 2, and I'll play 3 visits. Search your library for Forest. Put it on the battlefield. Let's find one. Let's just see. Boom. Nice. We now have mana again. 1 second here. Oh yeah, I forgot about the upkeep thing with In Search of Greatness as well. We can cast a 3-drop for free, but we don't have a 3-drop in our hand, so that's fine. 3 visits. We have 1 mana left. That's our hand. Next turn, what do we got? We got Apex Devastator, and we only have 3 mana. No, wait, no, we have 4 mana. So we could now tap all of this, and we could play only Maskwood Nexus. And then the next turn, we get a Whisper of the Wild. This deck very quickly comes online. So as you can see, at least to me, this seems like, there's no land drop missed so far there. 15 lands in this deck. It starts ramping very fast when it gets going. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I'm very curious to know, because this is, at least in my performance against friends, we have played sort of, I guess, brawl-style Arch Enemy, where we have, 460 card decks, and I'll have, I think I usually do 40 life, and they all have 20 life, and we see how we do, and I have won on 3v1 with this deck, so, But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that good junk. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later. Heck yeah.